Okay, so this is an introduction to Gamestar Mechanic. So Gamestar Mechanic is a program that allows students to learn how to create their own online games. And using it builds systems thinking, 21st century skills such as creativity, problem solving, collaboration, and communication with others. And it also works on those core competencies like language and science. So on the teacher page, there's this handy PDF, and it just kind of gives the overview of what students can do with Gamestar Mechanic. So they can begin by doing different quests to learn about video games, and they learn about them through play, and also by looking at broken video games and figuring out how to fix them. And then the second part is the design section, where students actually create their own games. The third section is Game Alley, where students are able to share their games with the Gamestar Mechanic community and actually receive both qualitative and quantitative feedback. Gamestar Mechanic is free for educators, and you would need to sign on with your email address, and then students don't need an email address. They give you a link, and then students can sign on through that link. And since this is geared towards grades 4 through 8 students, that can be really handy that they don't need to have their own email addresses. You can purchase an exclusive educational package, and that gives more training for students, and it allows teachers to track their students' activity in progress, and to create their own classes in Game Alley. So it has a lot of really neat things that come along with it, but you have to actually pay per student. So every time you would get a new class, I think you'd have to pay again per student. So I think it could end up being quite costly unless actual school boards purchase it. But the free package actually really does have a lot of great features. In the teacher resources, there is a learning guide, and this is about 50 pages, and it's a very in-depth PDF that takes teachers right through all of the steps of the program and how it's taught, and also gives 5 sample lessons to get teachers started. There's also YouTube videos that are instructional as well. Also, there's a teacher community, so through Edmodo and Twitter and Better Lesson and Facebook, there's a community of teachers who are in dialogue about how to use Gamestar Mechanic effectively with their classrooms. There's also a blog where there's interesting articles about gamification and using this program in a classroom. So when someone logs into Gamestar Mechanic, this is the dashboard, and it says, where would you like to go? So there's the quest, the workshop, and Game Alley. There's also a news feed and a spot for messages. So most students will start out at the quest, but they can look in the other areas as well. All right, so within the quest, students are taken through a graphic story. The story is about Addison, who can be male or female, and Addison wants to join the renowned League of Mechanics and become a master game designer. And somebody, a rogue designer, abandoned his spot in the League of Mechanics. And while Addison is doing his or her training to become a master game designer, this rogue designer is the villain trying to wreak havoc and make that not happen. So that's kind of the game, the story behind the game. And so the thing that's really neat about it is students, while they're doing these quests, just like if they were doing a job, they actually can earn different things. So they can earn sprites, and sprites are the building blocks for when they actually create their own games. They can also earn publishing rights, so that means they'll be able to publish their video games to Game Alley so that other people can play them. And they can earn soundtracks, so background musics, and also backgrounds for their games. So when we go in to actually play, it starts off with a story, and it sets kind of the backdrop for their quest. And then they go on to their missions. So you can see mission 1 has been completed, and each mission teaches about different game components. So one of them might be, how characters can move throughout space and how they can alter that. And they learn through playing, and they also learn, as the missions get further in, through being given a game where there's a problem with it and they have to figure out how to fix it. And so these are scaffolded, where they start at an easier level and the difficulty increases, and each different mission opens up once they finish the one before it. So once they finish the quest, they can go into the workshop, and this is where they design and actually can publish their own games. And in order for them to publish, they have to have their apprentice badge, which means they've completed the quest successfully. So in this section, there is, if you have like a premium membership, you can have student tracking information as a teacher. It also has your draft games that you can edit or delete, and games that you've published, and it also has, students also have access to challenges and contests, and they can earn rewards, which would be sprites or different video game components. So there's lots of different challenges that they can take part in, and then there's submitted games. All right, so we're going to go in to build a new game. So students can go into the workshop even if they haven't finished the quest, but they'll only have these 5 sprites, whereas if they finish the quest, they'll have a total of 20, so they'll have a lot more elements to work with. So they have their avatar, which they can place wherever they want to on the board, and there's different blocks that they can use to create the type of game that they would like to. The other thing that's neat is they can use this tool, and it gives them information about the sprite. So, this is a block, what it's used for, where it was made, things like that, which students really like. It's a lot reminds me a lot of Minecraft. All right, so students can create the game. Put an enemy in there, and it's pretty simple to do. In the settings, they can make a name for their game, make a game intro message, the game win message. They create goals and rules, tips and tricks. This is a great also exercise in writing and media literacy and communication. The other thing that they can do is they can make various levels, and they have level intro messages, level win messages. They can change the perspective of the game, so it can be top-down or platform perspective, which they learn about in the quest. It can be on a single screen or multiple screens. It can have a wraparound effect, which means that once the character goes off to the side of the screen, the character can come around the other side. So there's all these different elements that students can choose and they can play with, and also different backgrounds that they can choose. So they can choose the background they want, the style. They can choose a type of music that they want to add, and it's very simple. So then what they can do is they can test their game. So this is really simple. They go up to the play button at the top, and they use their controls to try their game and see if it actually works. And then they can go back and edit things that they want to change. So it's a process of, them trying it and problem solving and improving their game. So the third component is Game Alley. And Game Alley is where the games are published, and other mechanics can play and review the games. So there are featured games, there's challenge winners, so the challenges that I talked about in the workshop page, these are students that won those challenges, and then there's just new games. So basically, if we go into here, we go into one of the games, students can follow that particular game designer. So if they really like that person's games and want to learn more from them or want to play their games, they can follow them. They can also, the student or the designer may also have badges that they won, and that those go with their name. And so there's also a community rating, so other designers will rate the success of the game or how fun it is, and then also the difficulty level. It has game stats, so the number of people who have played the game, the number of plays, the number of wins, the number of reviews, and the number of comments. So students are able to comment and review them. And they can only do this once they've completed the quest. So it's a really great way for students to get feedback on their work, and also because they are young students, there's also the ability to flag comments if they are deemed inappropriate. So it's also regulated in that way. Students can also recommend the game, they can email it, they can link it, they can embed it into perhaps their own website or a class website. So in this way, they can also show the games to their parents. They could also log in at home, but these are all really great features. And there is also information for parents. So if you have parents that want more information, there's an information page for them as well. So that was an introduction to Gamestar Mechanic. There are so many different elements to this program, and it's so intricate, and there's so many different things to learn about. And I think it's a really great program for teachers to use with their classes.